thank you for joining us again on this month's episode of Clubcast, and Happy New Year. My name is Kate Capezza, and joining me this month is Rick Hatcher. So Rick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Rick Hatcher is the president and CEO of Play Treasure Coast, and he's also the immediate past chair of the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. So he's here today to tell us a little bit about his professional journey. He's here to give a little bit of information about our Lexus Great Futures Gala on February 1st. Him and I will both be there. And he's also going to tell us a little bit about our guests that will be at the gala. I don't want to give too much away. I'll let him explain that. But we're super excited about who's going to be there. Rick is going to do a sit-down Q&A with this special guest. So I'm just excited for him to share a little bit more about his experience in the sport industry and his connection to our special guest. So to get started, Rick, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you've grown up, and just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a Florida native. Primarily, I grew up in the Panhandle of Florida, a smaller town just west of Tallahassee. Graduated from high school, then went on to play baseball at Florida State University. Played 4 years there, and then ended up playing with the Atlanta Braves in the minor leagues. And it was there that I made the connection with our guest because he was a 9th round draft pick by the New York Yankees at the same time, and we were both in the same location. But I played with the Braves in the minor leagues for 3 years. I then was a high school teacher and high school coach. I made the transition out of high school coach to college coach, where I coached college baseball and primarily pitchers in charge of recruiting at Georgia Tech, at University of Tennessee, and the University of South Carolina. And through that, I was able to also, in 1994, be part of the coaching staff that played for the national championship when I was coaching at Georgia Tech. So, storied background with me. I'm a baseball person. I love being from Port St. Lucie now in St. Lucie County. The office for Play Treasure Coast is in the Met Stadium at Clover Park. That's never a bad place to be during the month of March with spring training games and everything. So, I just got into the pro ball. Once I decided to make a move to get out of that and get into coaching, once I made that decision to get out of coaching, I got into the sports tourism world, and I've been doing this now for 28 years. And it's hard to understand the length and the gravity of what the impact of what sports means to everybody unless you're a sports athlete or a parent of a sports athlete. You know the economic impact that's created. And so that's what our role is with Play Treasure Coast, is to recruit tournaments, to recruit teams, to work with our hotel partners, our restaurants, as destination marketing agent for sporting events. And the Play Treasure Coast, formerly known as the Treasure Coast Sports Commission, was created in 1999. So we're just celebrating our 26th year as we started last week. And so it's a great organization, and we are one of 39 sports destinations in the state of Florida. And last May, it was announced that Florida was the #1 sports destination in the United States for hosting sports events. So it's nice to be part of that, and we've got great partners that we work with that will get more involved with it. But it's the transition from a player to a coach to a professional in the sports tourism industry, and it all hinges around sports.
Well, congratulations on that. That is such an accomplishment, especially for Florida. Before we talk more about that, I want to jump back to your experience of coaching. How was it like coaching, coming from being a player to being a coach? How was it like being a coach?
I loved it. I love working with kids, and this makes it even more practical of doing the work that Play Treasure Coast and the Florida Sports Hall of Fame does with the Boys and Girls Club of St. Lucie County. If you get to kids early, you can change their lives forever. And that was the same way I provided when I was a teacher in school, in high school. When I was a coach, I would work with kids, and I enjoyed seeing the impact. And then even graduating from the high school kids, coaching into the college kids. You know, these are young men that are trying to excel in the classroom as well as excel on the baseball field. And you tend to learn a lot about individuals. And I learned a lot about myself. I mean, there were times I would have 15 pitchers on a team, whether it be at the University of Tennessee, who won the national championship last year, or Georgia Tech, where if you coach 15 pitchers, you got to have 15 ways to communicate and work with those individuals.
Right.
And so I always like being around, coaching, teaching, helping people get better. A lot of with the same mission of the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Right, and that's awesome that we have that similar goal
Yes.
between us. What does a typical day look like for you as the president and CEO of Play Treasure Coast?
Well, you know, I'm blessed with Play Treasure Coast. I've got two outstanding team members with me. Ryan Strickland, who's our Vice President of Business Development and Marketing, and then Kevin Green, who is our Director of Events. And we represent the Treasure Coast, so that means we have an office in each one of the counties, Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River County. And so we start off our day with a 9 o'clock staff call, depending on where they are. Ryan works out of Martin County, Kevin works out of Indian River County. Of course, I work out at Clover Park in St. Lucie County. So we started off and just making sure we're all on the same page and doing that. And then it goes from, okay, what events do we have coming up? What events have just concluded? Do we have any tracking reports we need to find out where these teams stayed, why they're here? Do we have any applications that we have to review? And then you throw in to the point of we are now starting to get strong interest here in St. Lucie County with the World Cup coming to Miami in 2026. We already have countries that are looking to St. Lucie County as a training base as they prepare for the World Cup. There's a Copa Club Cup that's going to be in Orlando this year. So it's never a dull moment. It's no matter what sport. And we even get calls to the point of when is the new indoor arena going to be built? We need new indoor basketball courts, or do you have a skating rink that's around that our kids can go skate? So it's always a fun conversation when the phone rings.
For sure, yes. What is the connection between that you just talked about and Boys and Girls Club? What's the connection between Play Treasure Coast and the Boys and Girls Club?
Well, you know, I think you look at it as, you know, we try to bring youth, mostly of our teams are youth teams, whether it be 8, 9, 10-year-old fast pitch girls softball players to college coaches that will start coming in with their baseball teams out there. We work and we see those student athletes that are there and working with it. And then I see the impact of having the local kids that maybe started out at the Boys Club or Boys and Girls Club to the point of providing really an opportunity for them to compete against high-level teams from outside the state, outside the area, but they don't have to travel. They get to have those teams compete against those teams, play in those tournaments here. And so I like to say we help create our local kids the home field advantage, so they don't have to worry about sleeping in a hotel, eating at breakfast, and is it the all-you-can-eat cold buffet where you get a bowl of cereal and orange juice compared to, you know, something else that your mom might have fixed at home and stuff. So there's a nice transition there.
Right, and that's an awesome experience that our kids are getting in our community. Are we able to touch on you mentioned before this, the foundation. Tell us a little bit about the foundation and how that is going to positively impact our community.
Well, I'm glad you asked. I mean, the Play Treasure Coast, when we did the name changeover from the Treasure Coast Sports Commission we started the look at the ways that we can help impact our local youth, and we created the Florida Sports Foundation. Currently, with our dollars that are being provided to us on contract out of our tourism markets in all 3 of our counties, those dollars have to be to the outreach of visitors coming in. So it leaves very little opportunity to impact local youth when these dollars have to be spent outside of our 3 counties trying to get visitors to come in. So we started the initiative, the Treasure Coast Sports Foundation, working with my staff and working with another individual named Christopher Corey that helped bring this idea to the finish line. And now we have investors, very similar to what the Boys and Girls Club has, that want to find ways that we can help impact youth. And through these measures, through these dollars, we will start a review process to potentially invest dollars into local leagues to help kids maybe get their entry fees waived or their league fees waived, or help buy uniforms. And again, that we're just starting to get this program off the ground, but we've got some great investors that really like this mission, and it's really coupled at the end. We hope to be able to, in 2026, we will have the first ever for the Treasure Coast, a Sports Hall of Fame. Now, there are different Hall of Fame. St. Lucie County has a Hall of Fame that's primarily up at the Defense Center in Fort Pierce, but we want to highlight the amazing student athletes that got their growth, their start here in the Treasure Coast. You know, whether it be Khalil Mack playing in the NFL, or Michael Bradley that played in Major League Baseball, or Rick Ankiel that went to Port St. Lucie High School, that's in the Florida Sports Hall of Fame already, but yet when we create it, we feel like that he will be probably a first ballot candidate that's coming in because of the impact of recognizing what sports means to the local youth and what is his story coming out. And he has an amazing story. He really does.
Right. That is so awesome. And one of our goals is to serve youth in our community, and that is through sports. So I think it's so important for our youth and teens to be able to partner with you guys to see what all they can accomplish in the future, that they one day could become an athlete that's in the Hall of Fame if they put their efforts towards it. So speaking of that, I wanted to announce to everybody that Fred McGriff is going to be our guest at our Lexus Great Futures Gala. He is a legendary MLB player, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and he's also a Boys and Girls Club alumni. A little bit about him: he is a former first baseman in the MLB who played for 6 teams from 1986 through 2004. And like I said, he's a Boys and Girls Club alumni. He was a member when it was just the Boys Club. He currently works in the Braves front office as special assistant to baseball operations, and he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame on July 23rd, 2023. So at the gala, the Lexus Great Futures Gala, that is on February 1st. It'll be at 6 p.m. at Treasure Coast Lexus, and it's all Enchanted Winter themed. So the purpose of this is just to support Boys and Girls Club's life-changing programs, and just to get as many people in the room as we can, just to have a night of community, a night of giving, and just an overall fun night just to be with each other. So Rick is going to be doing an interview with Fred at the gala, so I'm super excited about that. Tell us a little bit about how you know Fred. I know you said a little bit before, but tell us a little bit more about how you know him.
Well, you know, first, when Will Armstead reached out to me and said, I've got a favor to ask of you, and I just said, done. And, you know, anytime Will calls, people jump to, okay, how can we help? Because we know it's for the Boys and Girls Club of St. Lucie County. And he said, I've got this opportunity that we're hoping to be able to have Fred McGriff. It's going to be your keynote speaker. And I'm going, okay, now, Fred McGriff, who just went into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, that's going to be here. and I get the opportunity to interview him, ask him one-on-one baseball questions, Boys and Girls Club questions there. He says, "Can you do it?" And I went, "Yes." And so I committed to Will, and again, follow up working with you and your team and Melissa, or Marissa. It's exciting to be able to do it. The connection that I have with Fred is that whenever he got drafted in 1981 by the New York Yankees, they sent him to the Gulf Coast League in Bradenton, which is known Pirate City. And when I signed with the Atlanta Braves, they sent me to the Gulf Coast League in Bradenton and Pirate City. So I was on one team, the Braves. Fred was with the Yankees. There was also the Pittsburgh Pirates, that's their hometown, or their spring training site, was there as well. So you had 3 professional teams playing out of one site. So we got to play against each other every day, watch each other practice and stuff. And I remember watching Fred, because we've heard all about the high draft picks for these other teams. And you had in there, Fred was a first baseman, skinny left-hander, and I'm going, boy, this kid, I hope he can swing the bat because he's real frail and everything else. Well, fast forward 23 years later, here he is in the big leagues and Major League Hall of Fame and stuff. But to be able to watch athletes go through that and to be able to do that, but also part of that same team that Fred was on, and I mentioned this yesterday when we had a conversation, was John Elway, the former quarterback for the Denver Broncos, who's the general manager for the Broncos and who's in the NFL Hall of Fame. So you got out of that one draft class for the New York Yankees, you've got 2 Hall of Famers, one in baseball and one in football. Mm-hmm. So, it's unique as you look at those opportunities to play against other great athletes, to play and talk about stories, and because all the athletes, no matter what sport, it's like a fraternity. Mm-hmm. It's very similar to the different clubs around the state for the Boys and Girls Club. Everybody's got those different opportunities that you share with. And yesterday when we were talking to Fred, just to mention that little bit, so you were there, and you in Pirate City, you were there. And so it clicks instantly, and I'm sure we'll have some other conversations with Fred leading up to the gala on February 1st. But, just to see, and again, knowing his background, knowing his work ethic, that had to come from somewhere. That had to start somewhere. And a lot of people don't realize he was cut by his high school baseball team his sophomore year. And he didn't make the team until his junior year. Then he gets drafted by the Yankees his senior year. So that his work ethic and his ability to handle adversity, all those have to come from that. And I think that ties back to his connection to the boys club, as you mentioned, back when he was there, as well as, I went to the boys club. And I remember being part of those teams and, going to the summer programs and everything. So the connections in baseball for us is very strong, but also with the connections of what the Boys and Girls Club means to so many youth around the area, around the state, around the country, because of the great things you guys do.
I didn't know you're a Boys Club alumni. That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about that experience. How was your experience in the Boys Club?
It was short. It was when I was way back when 6 years old, and I'm dating myself here, but it was to the point. It was the Boys Club in Gainesville, Florida, and so we lived there for about 2 years. And my mom shared with me that I had myself, my brother, other 2 brothers, and that was her way. She still had to work. That was during the summer programs when we were out of school. It was in school. It was the after-school programs there, very similar to what everybody sees the need and the different functions and opportunities the Boys and Girls Clubs provides for so many families. But I was engaged, into the activity. Was there. Played baseball, of course, and then in talking to my mom and telling her about this opportunity I have with this, she said, "Well, you were also a swimmer." I say, I'm glad I chose the right sport to move my career along. But, you know, you look at just opportunities that, you know, in our family, it was a way that my mom had someone great to look over us, and it still provided the career. And so much is the same mission today with everything. So I feel like what I started learning there put me in my path to baseball. And it was my first organized T-ball game. And, you know, you get in there and they put it on the tee and you hit. And like every other kid, you didn't know which direction to run after you hit it. So it was the learning curve. But, I'm thankful for the Boys Club for laying that foundation with me.
That's really cool. It's nice to hear different people's experiences in their experience as a club kid. I actually graduated from the University of Florida, so that's ironic. Go Gators.
Yeah, well, Seminoles here, we can do the chop, and you can do the chomp and everything. So
what is the importance to you of your position you are in now, of having Fred there, like having Fred and players like him interact with you for your position?
Well, you know, you look at the opportunity first that gives us to connect or reconnect with professional athletes like that, and then to see those professional athletes that giving of their time to help kids, to giving of their opportunities to shed light about their struggles. Fred's got a great story. He gets cut his sophomore year in high school, and here he is, he's in the Hall of Fame. So to be able to reconnect with this, the same thing as with working and having a lot of stuff to do with Rick Hankill, to find out he's a Port St. Lucie native. That in itself, he was a great story. Rick was our speaker 2 years ago at our high school scholar athletes that Play Treasure Coast does, that recognizes a male and female scholar athlete at 20 high schools on the Treasure Coast in Okeechobee County. And so, having those opportunities, you look for the folks that have the local ties. Charles Johnson is another one from Fort Pierce. That was the first ever draft pick for the Florida Marlins, or the Miami Marlins back then, here from the Treasure Coast, here locally. And so to be able to work side by side with some of these great athletes that I grew up, I watched on TV, to be able to stand next to for pictures, but yet to see them willing to give their willingness to come back and work with kids, come back and do like what Fred's doing here.
Right.
I think it's going to be an amazing night, February 1st, having him in there. I think, again, I was at last year's event, and, it's what the impact of what the Boys and Girls Club St. Lucie County has on the area, but really on the region too. It's a leader. What Will and the team that you're part of are leaders around the state.
Thank you very much. We're definitely excited to have both you and Fred at the gala. Again, it's February 1st at the Treasure Coast Lexus dealership, and it starts at 6 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have silent and live auctions, dancing, food. The food will be by Tuda Fresco and Kyle G, so we're excited about that too. Also, our 3 final Youth of the Year candidates will be there to give their speeches for the first time. We've never had that at our gala before, but that'll be super exciting. They'll be able to meet Fred. It's just an amazing opportunity for them and just for everybody in the room to hear their stories. They're truly inspiring, and you will definitely be touched. So if you want more information about our Lexus Great Futures Gala, you can visit our website at bgcofslc.org. You go to events, and then you'll see the Lexus Great Futures Gala, and all the information is there to buy tickets and stuff like that. So we hope to see you there if you get a ticket. Rick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. And again, I'm so looking forward to February 1st and again, helping the Boys and Girls Club out with this, to be able to take part and share some stories with Fred, ask some of these questions that the group may not know that's going to be in attendance, because yesterday in a call, he asked to be able to mingle with the crowd, to get out there, and then so it's nice to see individuals coming here that want to be, embraced by the community. And I think
Right.
Fred is a great example of that. So it's going to be a great night, February 1st. I tell you what, be there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yes, we're super excited. We hope to see you there, and we will see you next month.